Hi everybody, it's Kathy here from Kathy Loves Scrap, and I'm coming to you from the land down under today, and I am doing the Series 16 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life, the double page series, and here are the elements of this page that make it so unique and different. This is the layout of the sketch, and it was designed by Darla Weber, known as Crafty Darla here on YouTube, and this is my final layout. Now the difference in this layout, I have some hidden journaling, and I'm going to show you how that happens through the process. So I have already pulled all my photos. They were from a place called the Nauti Otter at Seward, where we stayed when we were there recently for our big world trip to Alaska. I have got two cardstock as always, using them as my bases, and as a result I need to gut them, and so I do about a 1-inch frame around them. And I'm doing that because I'm using this cardstock to create my die cuts, my title, and also the matting of my photos. So I'm trimming down this pattern paper, and I've got two of the same from a pad, and I am roughing it up with my distress tool, and I'm doing it for both sides. Now you would think that I would notice that that is slightly too large before I even go to the distressing with the distress ink, but no, I leave it, and it's not until I start sticking it down that I realise I've made a mistake and I have to trim it down a bit. So I'm using Rusty Hinge here to distress ink it. I have chosen all the colours based on my photos, so that's how I choose my colours for my layouts. I like to mix and match papers where possible. I would love to be able to use a full set from a range, but that doesn't always happen. I'm terrible when it comes to buying papers. I tend to buy what I like and by colour, by what I see, and then realise that I should probably just buy full sets, but I don't. And I mix and match based on the colours in my photos, and they seem to work most of the time. There are times that that does not work, but that's the process of how I get my papers. So I'm now roughing up the edges of this inner one, so I'm actually having it like 3 layers in my framing for this layout. I really do like this double layout. As soon as I saw it, I knew what photos I wanted to include, and as I said, they were from the Nauti Otter at Seward. It was a place that we stayed in when we were waiting to catch the ship for our cruise. So we stayed overnight. I must admit, when I first got there, I was not impressed. It's an Airbnb that we'd gone to. We arrived. It's out of Seward quite a bit. There's hardly any transport. We were lucky that we'd gone ziplining that afternoon and were dropped off back to the hotel. We'd organised for our bags to be dropped there, and then we got inside, and at first I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? And then when we did a bit of a skirt around and had a look, it actually was quite quaint, and the night was good, beds were comfortable, and the scenery is actually very retro and very quaint, and so it wasn't too bad in the end. And I would recommend it for someone to actually stay at if you are at Seward and you're waiting to get on a ship in the next day or so. All right, so what I've done with my journaling, I've put it in behind because on the sketch there's no journaling indicated, and I really wanted to tell the story of the Nauti Otter, so I've put it in under the photo. So my main photo I'm mounting on like a file folder that I've created, and my journaling has gone inside. That also now gives me an opportunity to put 2 more photos onto the layout that I wouldn't have if I was to follow the sketch and just not add anything else, which is what I tend to do when I'm doing a sketch in this type of series. I also had not as many small photos in the portrait direction, but I had one 6x4 that was viable for me to cut into 4 to create 4 photos, and as you can see, that's the one there that my hand is sitting on. That's an option if you're wanting small photos in a layout and you don't have your small layout of small photos. You can always look at your 6x4s and see how they can be trimmed to sit in your layout in a different format. So what I'm doing now is I'm preparing my mounting bases for my photos and my extra pieces of pattern paper that I'm using to create those panels as per the sketch. I'm mixing them with the two colours that are the main colours of my paper, and that's how I have married my cardstock as well. I've used it based on the photos and based on the papers, and I'm just using a very small corner rounder punch so that all of my photos and my mats are rounded, and that gives that nice rounded effect for the whole layout to come together. So I put the photo that I cut into 4 onto the same cardstock so that you know that it is the one photo, and then I've put the accompanying other 2 panels on the green, and when I go to the opposite side I have done the same again. I have 2 with the green, and then I have 2 with the brown, and then my main photo is on the brown as well, and that overlaps those last 2 panels. Inside I've got the 2 green for the photos, and that picks up the colour in my jacket and also for the roofing of this place that we stayed at. So those little shacks that you can see there, they're rooms. So when you hire your accommodation there, you might end up in one of the little shacks, and they're actually quite cute, and they've got very cute little names, and they're very tiny, and they're around and in the bush. Oh, bush, well, it's not bush, it's forest over there. We call it bush here in Australia, but it's forest over there. So what I've done now is I've laid it out, and I had to move them down a bit so that they spread across, because my photos are smaller than what is indicated in the sketch. But then I needed to move it also to build in the embellishing that I wanted to include. On my Cricut, I cut these otters. Aren't they the cutest? I've also cut the title. Now, I want it to be a bit more rustic, so what I'm doing is I'm adding in some eyelets, and I can tell you I had a terrible time putting them in. For some, well, I actually burnt my finger the night before, and so using the eyelets and the eyelet tool was actually quite difficult because of that burn, and so I had to end up calling my daughter in to help. So I'm sorry that you didn't see the whole process, but I've put 4 eyelets onto each of the sides of the layouts, and I'm stringing through the jute and tying it into a knot just to add a little bit of interest and a little bit more rustic feel to the layout. That's just something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to leave that border so big and so empty, and this is just a little idea to add that rustic feel to it. And jute is one of those versatile tools or equipment that I have in my stash and I forget to use because I don't know why. I actually like it on a layout, and when I've finished with this one I'm actually quite impressed with the feel, the overall rusticness, and you know, that outdoorsy feel that this layout portrays. So I'm just tying off that nice and tight, but not too tight that it folds the layout, but it's not too dangly that it's too loose, which is quite hard to achieve really when you thread through across the length of the layout. I'm going to pop up the title here with some foam dots, because I want it to stand up off the page. Now, you saw me gut that paper, the floral paper, which is underneath. The reason being, I'm using them to build my clusters, tying all of the pages and the colours together. This little cutie, this little otter, I am popping up on foam dots, and he's just sitting there amongst the flowers, and he's so cute. I actually imported an SVG, or I created that SVG myself to use for this layout. I thought he was very, very cute. And now I've got these chipboard buttons that I've had for I don't know how long, and I just thought they married nicely with this layout, and I've just added them across there. The second half of the title, Otter, is going in here across the center like the other side, and then I have another otter that I cut out, and it too was an import that I did, and I have just put it with the blue because it's picking up the blue in the photos and on this side of the layout. So I am also adding another one of those chipboard buttons, and that goes in on there underneath with the flower cluster at the bottom. So inside my hidden journaling folder, I'm actually going to add the other flower that was cut, and I've cut that in half so it goes either side of the journaling, and I've added a little flower there so that I have. Now on the file tab here, I need something to make the viewer want to open up and read what's in the file. So I go off and I find some puffy stickers that I actually use to write the word open. When I put this into a display folder, I actually splice the protector sheet and feed that folder through, so it's an interactive layout as well. So when I'm finished with that, that's what I will do, so that that journaling, whilst being hidden, will also be available to the person that is viewing by lifting that file folder tab. All right, so there's my layout. That's how it's come together. And as I'm looking at it, I still think it needs a little bit more. So I've gone back and I'm now adding some ink splatters to it, just for a little bit more rustic and interest to it. I'm covering up using a photo backing. As you can see, not that great at splattering, but I just like the effect that it has. I've gone with a cocoa color so that it matches the colors of the layout, and I'm just putting it lightly. I'm not overly heavy with it. You can see the puffy stickers there now saying open underneath, so that that tab can be lifted. And I'm just finishing off with these final little splatters just to add that little bit of contrast. Here is Darla's fantastic sketch, and there's my layout based on the sketch. So I hope there's something here that inspires you to get creative. Please feel free to stop, take photos, use, lift away. Hopefully hidden journaling might be something that you want to use in the future. I use it quite regularly. It's a great way of getting the journaling on your page without interfering with the overall aesthetics of the page. So here he is, isn't he just cute? And that is the photo that I cut into 4 to do. Here's the rustic jute twine and eyelets, and there's the title, as you can see, and it all blends nicely to create this overall rustic feel layout. There's a playlist down below for all the players who are playing along with the 30 Days of Sketches. Don't forget to give them some love, give them a thumbs up. If you like something, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I love your feedback. It's very helpful and it keeps me being honest. I'm Kathy from Kathy Loves to Scrap, coming to you from the land down under. Follow me on Instagram, where you'll find all my layouts, even those that don't have videos. Thanks for watching once again. Happy scrapping. Until the next one.